The mass of men live lives of quiet desperation. What's oftentimes called resignation is actually confirmed desperation. Maybe you've heard that quote before. There are many famous people who said it. Maybe the world's most famous podcaster, Joe Rogan, or Jordan Peterson, or some other man that you've heard quote this statement. Today we're going to unpack the full quote. What does it mean? Why does it resonate with so many hearts? And what's happening in the lives of men? We live in desperate times. If you're interested in hearing more, let's go. Hi, my name is Scott Lear, the host of this channel, and thank you so much for taking some time to check this out. Today we're going to be talking about a manhood issue. We're going to talk about what does it mean to live a life of quiet desperation. Where did that quote come from? Why does it resonate with so many hearts? If you like that idea and this type of content, would you hit that like button, hit it multiple times, share with some friends, and subscribe to the channel, maybe even hit that bell notification. And what we're going to do is dive into some manhood issues today. I want to read you the full quote. It's not actually a quote by Joe Rogan or somebody else that maybe you've heard it from. It's by an author, Henry David Thoreau. And here's the full quote. The mass of men lead lives of quiet desperation. What is called resignation is confirmed desperation. From the desperate city you go into the desperate country and have to console yourself with the bravery of minks and muskrats. A stereotyped but unconscious despair is concealed even under what are called the games and amusements of mankind. There's no play in them, for this comes after work. But it is a characteristic of wisdom not to do desperate things. Wow, that's a significant quote. The first line is the most popular. The mass of men live lives of quiet desperation. What's oftentimes considered resignation is actually confirmed desperation. What does that mean? Why does it resonate with our hearts? Because so many men are living lives that lack a courageous calling, that lack genuine, true bravery. There's a failure to be bold. And so we've just resigned to these expectations that culture, people, whatever, put on us. And we know this resonates. Statistics show us this is true. Men are 3 times less likely to be satisfied with life than women. There is a loneliness pandemic happening in our world. 1 in 10 men experience depression, anxiety. The majority don't talk about it. And most people don't admit how bad it actually is. And so when you hear a quote like this and you're just driving in your car, maybe you're mad in your cubicle, you're road raging, whatever it is, it resonates. Why? And what is Thoreau actually saying here in this quote? Well, let's unpack it. Talking about this quiet desperation, he's talking about the brokenness of humanity. It's true for all of us, but there's a specific thing that's happening in the lives of men. And when he goes on to unpack, going from the desperate city to the desperate country, he uses some word pictures here. I thought it was intriguing that he used minks and muskrats. Like, what is that all about? Why those animals? What's happening? And at first when I saw it, I thought, oh, he's talking about like going hunting, which I don't hunt. I've been hunting. I'm kind of indoorsy, but I do like the freedom that animals have. And so I thought maybe he's talking about these animals that we go and trap, and we claim to be free, and we trap them, but they're actually living wild and free. But that's not it. In fact, when you dive in, you start to think about what is a mink? It's in the weasel family, by the way. It's a survivor. It's not a predator. It, because of evasion and different things, is able to survive and make it. Resourceful, lives an isolated life. It's actually a desperate life. And then a muskrat, that's a rat with a flat tail. It's a nasty animal. Again, not bold, not courageous. He doesn't use lions and cougars and various predatory type animals here. He doesn't use pictures of bravery and of courage, and that's on purpose because that's what he's revealing, is that most men settle for a false bravery. And anything they do that comes across as that isn't actually really bravery anyways. And so there's this survival, not a thriving, not a really living life, but just kind of making it through with this existence that we have. And then he goes on in this quote. He's not just talking about the bravery of minks and muskrats, but he says a stereotyped unconscious despair. Unconscious despair. It's concealed under what are called games and amusements of mankind. He's talking about entertainment here. And that's an interesting dynamic, especially when you consider social media, Netflix, Hulu, all the streaming services and all that stuff, how much entertainment we have, sporting events, theater, like all this stuff, music, concerts, all the things that are out there to amuse us, which is not in and of itself wrong, but he's pointing to the fact that we use this as an escape from reality. And then we live lives playing a role, so it's not even real. So there's a fake life that we're living. It's an entertainment. We're amusing other people by falling into these molds and these models that we were never meant to be living in, but they've been imposed on us. And then we escape this life that we don't like with amusement. And then he goes on. There's no play in them, for this comes after work, but it's a characteristic of wisdom not to do desperate things. And so is he calling us here to do desperate things, or is he condemning desperate things? And what he's referring to here is so many people are actually living these desperate lives. And what he means by this desperate is it's responsive. They're just chasing after whatever's the next thing. Maybe money will satisfy, maybe a career, maybe a promotion, perhaps this, maybe a different marriage, maybe a different church, maybe a different city, maybe a different, and it's all reactionary. There's no plan. See, wisdom would say that you have purpose and a plan and some self-control. And so this resonates with men because we are living these lives. We're doing what we're told to do. We went to school and got this job and taken care of them. We got these responsibilities heaped on us. And then inside we feel like there should be more. And all of our hearts are crying out for more. And so the mass of men live lives of quiet desperation. What is oftentimes called resignation is actually a confirmed desperation. And the desperation is bad because the desperation isn't planned. The desperation is not self-controlled. The desperation is not something that's purposeful. And there's no courage in this. There's no calling. And so what do men need? And I think that what we're getting here in this quote is a picture of survivalism, and that's what many people are doing with their lives. But what does it look like to truly thrive? What does it look like to really live the life that you're called to live? And I believe for men, there's at least 5 C's that are key. When you look at, there's so many men that are living these desperate lives and loneliness and depression and anxiety, but there's these characteristics of those that are doing well, because not everyone's doing bad. And what you see is when you start to look at the lives of those that are thriving, what you see are things like curiosity, people that are asking questions, that are willing to lean into things they don't know. Never take counsel from someone who doesn't ask questions. The person who's eager to just tell you all they know, or to tell you about their problems, or to teach you the things that you need to do without asking questions, they're revealing their own insecurity and their own inability, not their capacity to be able to help you. Don't be that person. Be curious. There's a curiosity. There's a connection. One of the problems, if you start to look at Henry David Thoreau's writings, is that he promotes isolation and kind of a life alone. And the reality is we need each other. And you see the people who are truly happy, that are thriving in life, that are living in connected relationships. Many men don't even have a best friend. And where do they go then with all this frustration and all this tension and what do you do with that? The isolation is the devil's playground. You need to be curious and connected, and then to have a courageous calling on your life that you're stepping into, that you're taking a risk to step into, something bigger than yourself. This courageous calling, a curiosity, a connection, and then also the ability to communicate. Many men haven't been taught. I don't just mean standing on a stage and being an orator, but just to even be able to communicate with yourself. Like, what are you feeling? What's happening in your heart? Why do you have these thoughts? Where do they come from? And then be able to communicate that with other people, to be able to have relationship and connection. Communication and connection are so intertwined. Connection happens with proximity and transparency. How can you be transparent if you can't communicate what's going on? How can you communicate if you don't know? And then you look at all these things, and it comes down to a consistency. This isn't a one-time silver bullet thing. It's self-discipline and self-mastery and control that takes place over a long period of time of faithfulness. It's not just one big moment. And you even see people that have the big moment, but how do they get to that spot? There was a consistency, a preparation. And then after that moment, either they collapse because they can't handle the pressure of success, or they sustain and grow and continue because of curiosity, the people around them, ability to communicate, ability to listen, that's part of communication, ability that they have of actual making real connections with God, with each other, with their spouse, if they have a spouse, and then to be able to step into that courageous calling, to identify the calling because they know how to communicate. They know how to listen, they know how to communicate that, to be able to share the vision, and then to have the courage to step into it. and then consistently walk in it. We'll unpack those things more. I'm thinking about launching a Manhood Mondays where we talk about manhood just for a short period of time, 5, 10, 15 minutes in a video. And maybe we'll unpack each one of those C's as we move forward. The curiosity, the connection, the courageous calling, the ability to communicate, and what it is to be and what it takes to be consistent. If you like that, let me know in the comments. If you don't like that, not interested, I won't spend time making those videos. But if you liked this kind of information, would you hit the like button right now before we go away? Go ahead and take a minute. Hit it right now. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification button. And let me know how you'd like to continue this conversation in the comments. If somebody you know would benefit from this or you want them to be a part of this community, why don't you share this channel with them? Thanks so much for taking time to be here today. We'll see you next time.